How does dieting and exercising affect our metabolism? This presentation will have two main goals. Firstly, it is to critically study 3 different articles which discuss the impact that dieting and exercising can have on the human body. Secondly, the aim is also to actually answer the question, how does exercising and dieting affect the metabolism? To be able to answer that question, it is important to know some basic facts about the metabolism and how it works. So the first source explains that there are different factors that affect our metabolism, and it is, for example, how much muscle mass our body has and how much fat it contains. It is our adrenals and thyroid gland that control if we have high or low metabolism. The faster these organs work, the higher our metabolism becomes. The second source writes about what a diet actually is. It is a reduction of calorie intake and more exercise, which leads to fat burn. There are many different diets today, and one of them is called the high-fat diet. That diet is when you increase the intake of healthy fats, such as avocado, olive oil, and soya beans, for example. Those oils and those healthy fats increase our metabolism because the body then uses that fat as an energy substance. And lastly, we have the third source. That source explains that the metabolism is split up into 2 processes, the catabolic process and the anabolic process. The catabolic process is when the nourishment that we eat is turned into energy in our body. And then the anabolic process is when amino acids are used to build up tissues and so on in our body. So, now to the material and method. The articles above were all found on the internet with a comparative observation method. The sources were all studied with a critical eye, and the only material that was used were these 3 web pages. After looking at many different sources, these 3 articles were found. Now it's time to analyze these sources. The first source was published on a blog about weight loss, and the author of the article was not stated, and the aim of the article was to explain how exercise and metabolism can influence each other. However, the second article is originally from a medical journal that is named Läkartidningen. This article was therefore found on their website. The author of the article is a professor of medical science, and the professor's aim of this article is to inform people about the risks that the high-fat diets can have. The third source was written by a dietitian who has a purpose of spreading information about the effect that physical activities can have on the metabolism and how the metabolism works. The web page is also a registered trademark named NetDoctor. Now for the conclusions and discussion. In conclusion, all of the articles had different aims, but they all had many similarities in their information. All of the articles recurs to high and low metabolism. To sum up, what they all mention on that is that by dieting and or exercising, the metabolism can increase, and vice versa for low metabolism. That is because by working out, the body gets a bigger muscle mass, which then increases the metabolism. Now, regarding the sources, not all of them were reliable. Since the first source did not state the author of the article, it cannot be claimed as a scientific source or as reliable because you don't know where the facts came from. But looking at the second and the third source, they both seem pretty reliable. That is because they both had a secure and stable background. They both mentioned the author and were clear about their information. So to sum it up, the first source was the least reliable, while the second and the third source were the most reliable. Also, from looking at all of these different sources, we can draw a conclusion that by dieting or exercising, the metabolism increases. These are the sources that were used. Thank you for watching.